everyone, welcome to Field Tuning, a weekly divination container that happens on moon days, so on Mondays at 3:30 p.m. Louisiana time. Each of these containers is basically meant to just kind of give us a gist of the energies that we may encounter in the week ahead specifically. And so, yeah, I also wanted to say Happy New Year's to anybody listening to this as a recording, and then also wanted to share that I don't usually do this, but I pulled some cards a little bit in advance for today's divination. So I am going to read out the cards, and then open the space up for discussion. So the cards that we have for this week are the Six of Wands, the Eight of Wands, the Nine of Discs in reverse, the Three of Swords, the Priestess of Wands, with the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the deck. I also pulled two oracle cards from the Beyond Lumeria deck, and those two oracle cards are the Solar Plexus Chakra and Radical Expansion with Full Spectrum at the bottom of the deck. And I'll get to those once we comb through today's divination a little bit. But yeah, I just kind of want to hold space and see at first glance when y'all look at these cards and kind of scry them. What do you guys notice and what do you see? What do you guys notice and what do you guys see? Also, what's up, Carissa? Happy to see you here. And I also see some people typing, so I'm going to just hold space for that. Ahmed says, I'll be silent. I'm tarot illiterate, so would need more explanations for the cards to get any thoughts on it, but you shouldn't have to read them all out just for me, for sure. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to get to it. I just kind of wanted to give everyone a chance to also like drink them in a little too. So thanks for saying that. Lexi says the Three of Swords card looks new to me from that deck. Yeah. I'm excited to talk about the reverse cards as well. And I also welcome like y'all's personal interpretations on reversal cards too. Agnes says, I don't have anything really specific other than that that solar plexus card feeling really central, and there's generally being a ton of energy and motion, but conversely a focus on centering. Like for today, you mean? Because I can definitely relate to like today's energies have been up and down for the collection of cards. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's interesting because when I did pull the oracle cards, I kind of like pulled them as anchors as a way to kind of further elucidate what the cards might mean. That way they could be seen more clearly. And so like to get a chakra card to me, first and foremost, like it feels like spirit is like right out the gate, kind of giving us an area to focus on somatically. That way, like the cards and the way that we interpret it won't just be a mental activity. So I really like that. Um, there is a sort of central pull, I think, in all my divinations towards like embodiment and like bringing whatever it is like spirit is pointing you to into like ripen action. So it's like, or non-action, depending on what you're embodying. So it's like, we're gonna get into it. we gonna get into it. Yeah, Carissa, you could unmute. Yes, just for anybody who don't know, you could unmute. I'd love to hear y'all voices. Mm-hmm. I agree, Agnew. Okay, for sure, Carissa. Yeah, just feel free to unmute whenever you're ready. So yeah, Agnew's noticing at first glance or on secondary, tertiary, I don't know, glance, that the Six of Wands being next to the is that the Six of Wands? Yeah, Six of Wands being next to the Eight of Wands seems really powerful to me. The image, which I will share in my Substack post later on, that way folks have a visual to correspond to this with this audio. But the Six of Wands is next to the Eight of Wands. The Eight of Wands is a figure pointing arrows, shooting arrows in a particular direction. And it looks like she's blasting, Agnew says, the arrows out of her solar plexus. I kind of want to pause here and like talk a little bit about the solar plexus and how we interpret it potentially. So I'd like to pose the question to y'all. When it comes to the solar plexus, what sort of images, ideas come to mind? What do you connect the solar plexus to? What does the solar plexus teach you? Yeah, feel free to unmute or type your response. Ahmed says a sense of self or sense of self. Mm-hmm. I can agree with that for sure. Lexi says self concept, the ability or will to do things. Mm-hmm. Agnew says +1 on sense of self. Mediates between the personal energy of the stomach and the collective energy of the heart. But Carissa unmuted, so go on. What's up?
What's happening?
Hi.
Hey. So to me, the solar plexus, I mean, the most simplistic way for me to look at it is kind of like the sun. We need her or him, whatever way you look at it. It's the vitality, it's the warmth, it's the nourishing, it's the just, taking care of the crops and things of that nature. But it's also like too much of it can be a little bit OD and not enough of it starts causing all these problems. So like just a certain level of sustenance for being able to be on earth and highly function not necessarily always highly functional, but just helps us function on earth because is different rules in the spiritual realm as it is on earth. It's kind of limited here, so we gotta like tap into certain other energies. And I don't know. But can I also say what I was going to say about the cards in general since I'm here? Or is that a different, segment?
Yeah, I was just struggling to unmute, but go on.
Okay, got you. Hold on. Discord look a little different since the last time I've been on here. But the third picture stands out to me first because even the top row and the first row and the second row, the first two cards have these kind of personal stories. It's like people, it's things, people interacting, animals, flowers, etc. And then the third one on the top two, you know what I mean. The last two, I guess the last column, I would say. There's this kind of, they both have this circular energy, and to me, that kind of symbolizes this this idea of just living a full life, and then once that full life is over, we may or may not enter a particular wheel of sorts. And that's what that made me think of. I really didn't pay too much attention yet to like the super fine details of things, but just that was the loudest thing. And I guess that's also in tune with solar plexus energy. It's like the shit that hits you first is like clear. Like I think they, I think the yellow is the first. It's either yellow or red. I'm not sure, but I learned in an advertising class one time that either yellow or red is the first color that you see in a room. That's why like McDonald's has that color. So yeah, those are my thoughts for now.
Thank you, Carissa. I feel like um, a lot of resonance with everything you said. Um, because I was wondering, I'm like, do these cards like after you're speaking, I'm like, do they have an as above, so below aspect? Because it does kind of feel like the first column, which includes the Six of Wands, Eight of Wands, Nine of Discs in reverse, tells one story, and then the second column with the Three of Swords, the Priestess of Wands, and the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the deck feel like they tell another story. You know what I mean? Um, so I'm glad that you pointed that out. And I also, yeah, it does kind of, these colors also give like solar plexus a little bit. And then the progression of them, like I'm looking at the Nine of Discs in particular, right? Even though it's in reverse, maybe you guys can click on it and see how like there's the blue and then the yellow. So the blue is at the top, the yellow is kind of representing the ground or the desert that this figure is in. I think also too, the deck, the booklet that comes with this deck speaks to this card being the card of the adept. So let me put that in the chat. Adept, so like a spiritual adept. Ugh, I cannot spell. um, yeah, so like plays with this idea of spiritual adepthood. Um, but it's also a disc card. So it's also rooted in like practice and study and weaving because these plaques or these shields that the person, the woman in the card is creating are almost like, I have a funny story with this card, but I'm not going to tell it now, but they represent like different shields or different I almost want to say covens of thoughts, not like spiritual covens where like people gather, because that's one thing, but it's almost like lineage and like the different lineages that this person, kind of the person in the card, attends to and serves, let's say, and co-creates with. So this card being in reverse is very auspicious, but it does almost play with the polarity. Like as I zoom into it, it plays with this polarity of like this crescendo of colors from yellow to blue to me is symbolic, I feel like. And I also like that we're not going through the cards linearly. So Carissa writes, I also love that these cards are circular. Inherently, it makes me tap into a different part of my perception because I'm so used to seeing rectangular cards. Yep. Thank you for saying that, Carissa. That's what I really, really love about this deck. A lot of people like it because they are like, oh, it's a feminist kind of deck. But I'm like, I like that it's non-linear. It's like at its basis, like the cards are round, you know, so you got to kind of like tap into some sort of like cyclical earth um point of view, I feel like, to access and engage with them in a way. I wonder what's one specific card. I know Lexi spoke to the Three of Swords. um I wonder if anyone else has any cards in particular that are standing out to them, and then I guess I'll kind of go into a more like linear reading of these cards, and situate the context more in like what this week has for us. full spectrum card, Carissa says, I'm drawn to how the skulls look like light bulbs. And I feel like I'm going to read from that Oracle deck too, so we can really get what it means. To me, it looks like the card looks like some sort of connection between the astral and etheric realm in one's body, and how, like, there's, okay, so you have like power in one way, that's like force and efforting that comes, I think, from like, or that's channeled through the solar plexus. And you can channel that kind of stuff very cleanly, I think. But I feel like power in that context is relegated through the solar plexus. But then there's like full spectrum power, which is like when you're just like lit up, like your heart is open and like aligned, and like your root and each, let's say, energy center, for the sake of this example, is like kind of like firing on all cylinders. So we're going to really get into it, because I feel like that's what this week might have in store for us. I don't want to say like activating energies, but almost like swirling, winding, deep earth energies coming up to play in our fields of awareness, and then having this really juicy opportunity to take what we know in the astral and weave those two worlds together, so that they're not that separate for us, and separate from, or within our perceptive capabilities. So I know I said a lot just now, but yeah. The reverse Three of Swords feels hardest to read to me, Agnew says. It's interesting, yeah, because that one gives me cause for pause too. Because like the Three of Swords, yeah, super chaotic. Let's read what the deck says about it, or the booklet. Let's see. So the swords represents the air, east, mental realms, realities that the mind creates. The Three of Swords represents emotional dramas created by the mind and unfinished business. Let me type that in the chat. That way we can like hold on to it. Emotional dramas created by the mind and unfinished business. But it's in reverse. So I'm gonna let that cook for a little bit and wonder what kind of interpretation y'all may have around the fact that it is reversed. Because that's interesting to me. And let's do a little Google too. Three of Swords in reverse, just so we have a framework to play with. Do a quick little scry. Ahmed says, would it being reversed mean a resolution of this drama? I think, yeah. I think it could, for sure. Oh, interesting. Huh. Okay, so Ahmed says, like a cool down from the anxiety and neuroticism. Ooh, child. That really aligns for me. Do you want to say more about that, Ahmed?
No, not really. There's not much more from just my interpretation, right? If the Three of Swords is all about emotional dramas created by the mind, reversal would probably mean the opposite of that, which is let's cool down the mind a bit and let's create a lot more work than it needs to. I think
Yeah.
that then ties also to your full spectrum card, right? Of that's probably the mindset that allows the full spectrum card to actually flourish.
Mm. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, that's some good weaving right there. Yeah, because I kind of take it as that too, like the opposite or the perpendicular of what the card usually means when it's reversed. So yeah, and I like the idea of like neuroticism, pausing on neuroticism for a little bit. Because there has to be something other than thinking your way through things, just in life in general. So I'm going to read what Agnew said. Agnew says, yeah, I think sort of, but I feel this thing that the drama, the narrative has been rotated. So it's disconnected from the internal flows of attention. But the body, the corpse of it is still in the field. Ooh, hasn't decomposed yet. Would you like to say more about that, Agnew? I think I definitely get the metaphor that you're putting down, but I would love to, hold space for you to say more. Or anyone else. Yeah, come on, Carissa.
I just want to add real quick though, with Agnew saying it's separating the subject from the discourse, right? The subject may still persist even if the internal discourse might dwindle. Go ahead, Carissa.
Oh, got you. To me, well, okay, so we're talking about this Three of Swords in reverse, right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so boom. At first glance, before I zoomed in on it, I was like, damn, that shit look chaotic. And then it's like at my second, not necessarily second glance, but like kind of zooming in, I guess. I was like, oh, it kind of looks like a clock, like a clock hands. And then zoomed in a little bit more, and I'm like, oh, this one person looked like he already stabbed this this lady, and it's like a sword fight, and it's just giving dramatic, and it also makes me think about just how the Three of Swords in a traditional deck looks. It's like a heart with these three swords pierced into it. It kind of signifies heartbreak and like things of that nature. But that card has always been ironic to me because it's about quote unquote heartbreak, but it's not a cups card. It's not about your feelings. It's like certain connections are literally just about the hands of time moving, and some things are just set into motion because that's just how human interaction has been designed. Like, as far as just not even just, on some cosmic shit, but also even just Masons and how they just orchestrate certain connections and events and shit like that. And, things like that can put us in our feelings because it's like on a mental level, something might be or seem like it's what's supposed to happen. And that might be counterintuitive to what the heart feels like. And it causes this drama, this rift between not even just those two energies, but just it's bigger than a rift. It's more like chaos. It's like a chaotic rift that's deeper than just the quote unquote characters involved. It's not ever just two people involved in some shit. It's really because like no person is even just one person. Like just my embodiment influences so much around me, so much of the people around me, and so does everyone. Like everyone has that energy. So just there's a certain level of chaos and working beyond what seems logical in order to get to certain aspects of life that are beyond our ability to see them and read them and interpret them in advance.
Absolutely, Carissa. Yeah. I like how you were kind of spanning different experiences, like how some of these mechanics work in the metaphysical realm and then they work in the physical realm. I also felt like what you were saying about orbiting two different orbits is what it felt like. I think like interrelationally is really interesting because to me it's like sometimes you will be on a different timeline than another person. So is it like I was literally talking to somebody about this today where I was like, do you internalize and personalize it whenever those rifts come come up between you and other people. And if you do, that's okay. But it's like, is it actually like a reflection of like how you manifest and like who you are and like what you were looking like the net that you casted, or is it more about being on two different waves, for lack of better words, and to put actually like as simply as possible with another person? And then I also feel it like internally with my personal self. Like literally today I was like jittery before I like hopped on field tuning because there were so many things I wanted to do. I wanted to eat, I wanted to roll up, I wanted to like make myself this like mocktail, I wanted to do my hair, I wanted to do my nails, and I was like, oh my god, I literally have fucking 30 minutes before this container starts. Bitch, you gotta choose one thing to let go, or maybe two things, like, you know. And so for me it does, I feel like this Three of Swords in conjunction with the Nine of Discs in reverse is like speaking to something like very metaphysically subtle. But when I say subtle, I don't mean it's invisible. I feel like the progression between these two cards is also like telling a story, and I appreciate you for weaving it. Yeah. Agnew, I was curious if you wanted to read your comment about the metaphor with software out loud while I take a sip of my juice.
Sure, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So I'll just kind of paraphrase it, but essentially, and this is how it actually works on a computer. When you delete something, like you delete a file, um, you know, files are encoded as ones and zeros on the disk. And when you first delete something, that structure is still there. All that happens is the link or the pointer in the file system that tells your computer there's a file here. It gets overwritten. And so it's the file's still there, right? And that space gets reallocated, and over time it will be overwritten. But unless you specifically run a program that will overwrite that whole space with zeros or ones, the ghost, so to speak, of that file still exists. That's how they do like forensics on hard drives or whatever. But I feel like there is definitely a similar way that things move uh, in these spaces where you have these internal emotional dramas or knots, and you sometimes you have to. It's not enough to just let go of something. You have to intentionally like remove it. I don't want to say cut out, but I'm not sure exactly what the word is. Maybe smudge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so real. Yeah, Nobu says in the chat there's an option to exercise um old data. I'll say. And I feel like that's kind of what these not exorcism, but I do feel like what these cards are pointing to is like finding a new strategy to like purge, overwrite with zeros. And like, I mean, if it's exercising, then it's like it might be good to learn that. It might be really, really good to learn that. And I'm not just speaking like theoretically. I do agree. I think like it's super hard to like let go of, yeah, like one's conditioning. I think that's something I was meditating on last night. Fucking New Year's Eve. I was like, my fucking conditioning. I was like, what a celebration. It wasn't sad though, but I felt like that was something that I was like really tuning into, where I'm like, I don't think doing what I want to do to get where I want to go with anything in life and doing it strictly from my mind. And this is not even to like say a middle finger to mental processes, but I'm like, they literally do not do it for me. They don't get the job done. And so like I had to, like, for example, today it was like moving through some stuff energetically. I was like, I had to sing, I had to walk, I had to move. And I don't say it in the way that it was like strenuous, but I was just like, yo, I need to also teach my body the new narrative that I'm trying to capture with my heart, or trying to capture with my mind, or trying to, I don't know, maybe birth into my world, I need to like either like learn better ways to like make space, or like, yeah, just keep looping in certain conditional programs. And I think that when a lot of people hear this, it's like, okay, now I'm about to upend my life. I'm about to change everything. But I actually think that it's a much more labored process. I'm really surprised that the Seven of Pentacles didn't come up in this pull, because that's a card where there's a woman pictured, a pregnant woman giving birth or due to give birth, and it signals like her, or like a collective impatience with a goal, because that's what this pull feels like kind of getting behind the blueprint and doing some tweakings to like on a motherboard level to like your own technology and the way that you interpret um your conditioning in particular. So yeah, that's a lot. But I do think that it's happening quicker than we might imagine, because the Eight of Wands and this interplay with the solar plexus card speaks to, I think, how you can have this continual intention to be connected to what's alive for you at any given moment, as opposed to just kind of like reneging and digressing into a conditioned response or a conditioned reactivity. Um, and so it feels like these realizations are coming in very quickly. Ahmed says in the chat, taking this new year, new you to heart. I feel like yes, every day. I honestly try to rebirth myself a little bit every single day, because I've learned, as living as a Scorpio, and not just being a Scorpio, but like being somebody tapped into like really intense energies, like actually to create change, long lasting change, there have to be incremental actions, but also incremental incentivizations for that change to actually happen and be solidified. And I've learned that in like my 31 years of life. I'm like, no change worth having happens in one fell swoop. Doesn't mean that I'm always patient, but it also does speak to how I try to temper and like channel like the energy of rebirth, like every single day. Like literally, I'm not even joking. Like down to like when I go get coffee, I'm like every day I'm trying a new flavor, because I just want to teach my body the feeling of newness, because I'm so used to things being in a specific way. Even with food, I'm like, I try not to eat the same thing twice if I can help it, but I mean, you gotta eat what you gotta eat. But when I do have the opportunity to go out to eat, I'm like, something different, somewhere new, somewhere I haven't been. Let's go. Agnes says, yeah, I really relate to that, especially with the solar plexus stuff. Yeah. Thanks for saying. So many sinks, Nobu says. Ashe. Any other card that y'all want to like break down? Yeah, and the food in particular. I'm trying to do it again with music. I used to be really open to like, not even just open, I'd like be really determined to like have a very well seasoned palette when it comes to music. So I was trying even to do that a little bit today, where I'm like, let me listen to stuff I haven't listened to in a while, or haven't listened to ever at all. So yeah, it's interesting. I see some people typing, so I'm gonna take a sip of my juice. Nobu says, my friend showed me how human design talks about can might best eat, and it synced a lot with what you were saying. Hold up. Oh wow. Shout out to them for that transmission. Oh, I'm drinking seltzer with tart cranberry juice. I don't think I said so earlier, but yeah. That's what's in my cup. What's in y'all's cup? If you have a cup. Oh my god, I've been on the antimicrobials heavy. I'll say that, guys, like, especially when it comes to like solar plexus regulation, anti-inflammatories, antioxidants, they've been my best friend. Liquid spirulina, liquid chlorophyll in my water every day has been a game changer. This is not a lifestyle tip. This is an energetic tip. Energetic codes, yes. No, this is a rolled cigarette. Ashe. Carissa says drinking wine at the bottle. Oh, she lose. Oh, she lose. Oh, she lose. Carissa says in radical expansion, the dragon looks like where did I just come from? Y'all, do you want to get into those cards now? Should we get into those? Whoops. Oh wait. Maybe no, I still feel like there's some juice in the mother piece cards. But we're gonna get it. I'm gonna pull out I'm gonna pull it out right now. Chicka chicka choo, chicka chicka choo. Let me see. Was there anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, there's something. There's something in my channel about the Six of Wands card and the Priestess of Wands with the Wheel of Fortune. Juice everywhere, juice everywhere, juice everywhere, juice everywhere. Get it up, drink it up, bust it up, open up. I'm just vibing on what's happening in the chat, guys. Looking down the street, smoking tobacco, talking about cranberry juice. That's what Nova said. I don't know why I rapped it. Are there any cards? I guess what I'll read is the Six of Wands and the Priestess of Wands. So we can. I'm kind of feeling like the fire element has something to say because it's showing up 3 times too. So let's get into it. All right, so let's see this Wands energy. So let's start with the Six of Wands. I get the Six of Wands often. So the Six of Wands represents personal power, victory, becoming a leader, and recognition. I feel like this card is about. So I never talk about the solar plexus. Right, I'm gonna get to it because I feel like more of what I want to say about the solar plexus and some that went into it already. Right, is an Eight of Wands, but the Six of Wands to me speaks about the creative spark that really gets your juices flowing or gets your spiritual juices flowing. I also feel like, speaking of fire, I feel like, and there's so much happening in my like third chakra as I'm trying to talk about this. I feel like what I'm trying to allude to is some sort of like nod in this reading or some sort of pointing in a particular direction in this reading towards how to, I guess, kind of co-create or like, I don't know, co-create's not the word I'm trying to use. There's something here about like how to stoke your inner flame. Like how do you like, how do you like give yourself, it feels like there's a question, like how do you give yourself life force to yourself and generate life force in ways that don't take life force away from other people, like that. I'm also hearing like a way of energy exchange where it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. So yeah, the Six of Wands speaks to like personal power, this recognition either today or at some point this week that you are your own source of personal power. Like how your personal power comes from how you see yourself and how you're in relationship with yourself. Is what I feel like the Six of Wands is pointing to. Then you progress to the Eight of Wands, which to me speaks to and how quickly do things move when you're in this recognition, when you have an appreciation for your creative juices, all that you can create, all that you did create, all that you want to create, where you kind of like see your creative essence from a like higher point of view, where you could see past, present, and future, and helping braid those possibilities into the present moment. Which again, I don't know why this Eight of Wands card is speaking to me with the solar plexus. I think it's because of what Agnew said earlier, but it's hidden for me right now, and it also feels like that's like these are the blueprints of like instant manifestation, so to speak. Less emphasis on the instant, more emphasis on the manifestation. And it also speaks to, I think, mechanically, like if somebody was curious about that, it feels like there's a curiosity in the air, like how do you fuel, right, like that relationship between the solar and sacral, and I think it's pointing us to personal power being part of that. And so yeah, let me read the Eight of Wands and the Priestess of Wands. So the Eight of Wands represents high velocity energy, focused on a goal, and being almost there. This week, I have a feeling a lot of us are going to clear up some channels in our own field about like how we relate to fiery energy, or like how we relate even to like the fiery energy within ourselves. So that was just a download that came through. And let me read this Priestess of Wands, and then I'll shut up for a little bit. The Priestess of Wands is a representation of water and fire. She is a channel, a magician who contains and disperses energy. A magician who contains and disperses energy. Yeah, what do y'all make of not only that, but anything I kind of was weaving to bring this reading to life a little bit? Sorry, I like kind of lost the Discord page on my computer for a second. Yeah. Nobu says feels very personally relevant. Ashe. And I hope supportive. Agnes says sounds very in line with how I've been looking at the new year. Ashe. And it's interesting because I was getting a download earlier that, like, you know, many of us who are like aligned to Earth's clock know that the new year, land-wise, happens in March, at least on this side of the world, in the northern hemisphere, in North America. And I was like literally going out to warm up my car this morning. It was freezing, and like I was kind of hearing some guidance around how important it is to treat January, February, March, like these months leading into the ecological new year, as a time to build just as much hearth as you may have been building before the new year. So it's not about like not celebrating what this portal was. I know it was big for a lot of us. I think also is going to be like these months have the potential to be just as fruitful. But there is sort of like a hunkering down energy for like 2 more months is what my intuitive sense is for many of us. Not only just creatively, but I also think walking out on this ledge that or bridge that you've cultivated for yourself, or that you've seen is already within yourself. I feel like 2 months sounds like a long time, but I also feel like I can hear spirit saying like it's going to take 2 months to really cultivate this, whatever this is in this example. And with the Wheel of Fortune card at the bottom of the deck, it also feels like I'm hearing like the ability to sustain very large change and like manage to be as light as a feather, crossing through thresholds is kind of like the blueprint that's being dropped into this container right now. So interesting stuff. Lexi says aligns. Thank you for reflecting, Lexi. Yeah. Let me take a step back before we get into these oracle cards. Y'all feel free to unmute and let's chat. What is this thing for us? Is it just the new year? Or is it something else? And if you feel comfortable sharing, please do. Mm. Can I read that out loud, Nobu? Okay. Nobu says, well, I just moved back to Australia over the new year, so it's just my entire life. Laughing my ass off. I'm laughing at how I was called to read that. That was silly. But no, yeah. Big fucking changes. The winds of fate. I keep hearing. The winds of fate. It's also 4:20 right now, so it might be spirit being like, blaze it. But yeah, I'm gonna take a step back. I need to take a step back. What's on y'all's mind?
I feel like this new year, it kind of feels like I just gave birth to a baby, but like now I gotta take care of that little motherfucker. Like I don't know. It's kind of like, but like also deal with having just been pregnant. I feel like the baby is more like a spiritual, perceptive. I don't know. There's a certain level of awareness that I feel like I've just came into. I think that's the meat of the baby, so to speak. But I don't know. It's like, did I really want to do all that? Like, I really want to go lay the fuck down and mind my business, but like, I got shit to do on a whole other level. And it just feels like a lot of housekeeping. So I don't know. I feel like I'm not being as grateful or like whatever about it. I feel my personality, my energy changing a lot, and it's a, a being that I'm not. It's like I'm familiar with it because it's me, but like as I don't know, the fucking As Told by Ginger just popped up in my head for some reason, but I don't even remember what that show's about. But I just saw it and it was funny and I laughed. So deep down something's funny. I don't know. Yeah. That's what I feel like right now.
Mhm. That's a good metaphor, Carissa. I really relate to that. And I can also relate to like, I don't know if it's the same for you, but I kind of feel like so like I don't know, like there's this vibe that I embody. Like, you know how some people say holding space, and I say this all the fucking time. I be really holding space. Like, I literally I'm laughing because it's so funny, and I'm like, I feel like I can relate to what you said about like having been birthing something, then kind of feeling dry about it, and then also like knowing that it needs to be taken care of. And then Nobu in the chat says, "Yeah, I feel like I need to be careful with the baby and my own postpartum body," which is like kind of how I can also like why I relate to what you said is because it feels like getting codes on how to take care of something while taking care of yourself, but like not separating the care. Um, and then to my point about holding space is like that's how I feel sometimes. I get like in these like really sacred pockets where yeah, I'll fast. I won't even talk. I won't play music. I won't like ingest any substances where I'm just like in this like meditative space where I'm like I feel like the earth or like the cosmos bringing something down or bringing something in, but like it also feels like I'm witness to it, so I kind of have to take a little step back and like practice this detachment so that like yeah, I can not only be the channel, but like yeah, like find that care for myself in the process of watching something arise that I know that I care about or am going to care about. Um and so it's interesting because I'm not a mother and I haven't given birth in the physical, but it's a metaphor that I use a lot of the times that like containers just feel like birthing rooms to me often. And sometimes you don't know what's being birthed in the container. So it like takes this particular, I don't want to say um posture, but like this foresight and hindsight to be tuned into that field, you know? Yeah. Nobu says, I guess you gotta take care of yourself so you can take care of the baby. Yep, definitely. I'm going to let's get into these oracle cards because I feel like there might be something here, even if it's just like a message to like help us anchor the type of care that we're being set up for. But I want to ask y'all, is there a particular card y'all want me to read first? I choose. Okay. Solar plexus. I'm gonna start with that card. I'm gonna actually share photos of the words in the chat, and I would love it if you guys want to, if you'd like to read some of them. So I'm gonna take photos and send them in the chat. Oops. Would anyone like to read this solar plexus chakra card? It's loading. It's coming. Oh, okay. There it goes. Mhm. Take photos. Thanks, Carissa.
Ahem. Get my reading voice on. Solar plexus chakra, radiant illumination, personal power, independence, self discipline, confidence, assertiveness, decision making, belief, intellectual abilities, expression of will, bringing ideas into reality. The solar plexus chakra is the radiant center of our being. It holds the vibrant spark that brings our passions to life. Enter this space to step away from playing small, unworthiness, the idea that you are taking up space, and insecurity based competitiveness. Allow yourself to be attuned to the abundant life force that resides within this center and be energized, motivated, fueled with inspiration, enthused and clear minded so you can bring forth more of yourself and what you wish to birth in the world. As you discover a deep and real sense of empowerment, you can more confidently lift others in celebration, harmonizing differences and shifting hierarchical paradigms into collective co creation. Restore. Remember that you are a powerful being who can connect with potent life force energy as and when you need it. Be aware of what fuels your fire and consider circumstances where you had your power. Hold on, what? Hold on, let me just start the sentence over. Be aware of what fuels your fire and consider circumstances where you had your power away. Imagine all the fragments of your energy that you have given away at some point and bring them all back to the center of your being. Themes: your power and where you are putting your energy. Healing position, navel. Color wash, golden yellow. Page 35.
Not the page number. Thanks, Carissa. Oh, wait.
Pleasure.
Hmm. Yeah, man, that hit me in the gut. No pun intended. Yeah, calling that energy back. Woo. The cockroaches. I already told you I was making cockroaches. Bars. Ugh, yeah. There's like some ritual in this card. I'm not gonna speak on it, but if those who feel inclined to do it, do it. Let me know how it goes. I think I'm probably gonna meditate on calling my energy back for field tuning. Actually. Um and yeah, it's interesting because we were talking about power earlier in this reading, and I feel like that's where this card, thank you again, Carissa, for reading it, because that's where it just brings me right the fuck back to where I'm like, there's power that can like be like one directional and like just move you forward, and then there's like power that's, and I'm sure we'll see it, and I don't know when we read this full spectrum card, but it feels like in order to get to that like full spectrum space, there has to be like some relinquishing of these chords, um kind of a shedding of like old places that like your mental energies and your power have like been used to flowing in, and like a specific geometry in your field. I mean, hell, it might even be an attachment that like is just used to flowing in a specific direction might have to be rerouted. And it also feels like this card affirms to me what we were talking about earlier with like certain shifts taking a little bit longer than we're used to. So I'm kind of getting that back into my third eye right now. Again, like 2 months, 2 months, 2 months. So yeah, I also want to just say be patient with yourselves. Um, I also want to just tell myself be patient with yourself, Hoda, because I'm not all the time. So yeah. I mean, like I just had a realization moment where I'm like, wait, that may have been to me too. I'm like rubbing my solar plexus right now as well. Lord of mercy. Okay, I'm gonna share the full spectrum card and see if I switch Terminator. Wait, how so? What's Terminator? Oh my god! Thank you for the gift. God, I'm getting warm. Like I just feel like a lot of energy moving through me right now, which is it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. But yeah, let's share this full spectrum card. Not the full spectrum. Yeah, it is. Okay, I'm sharing it in the chat now. Oh, let's see what this card gonna have to tell us, child. Would anyone like to read it?
I'll take a read with my reading voice. 26 full spectrum. Creating heaven on earth by honoring the perfection of nature's cycles, going beyond the judgment of good and bad, the merging of duality, raw nature, earth wisdom, connecting to ancestors, shadows as the fertile soil for exponential growth. The way forward is in the whisperings of the land, honoring the full spectrum of life. Should I read the whole thing? Yeah, okay, I'll do a
If you
little
want.
bit. What does heaven on earth look like to you? Do you imagine lush green nature, ancient forests, pristine beaches, crystalline water systems, and all the planet's residents in full health, living in harmony with each other? And yet, nature, in its purest, rawest form, is a balance of life and death, growth and decomposition, the eaters and the eaten. In one way or another, this is the natural flux of life. We already live in Eden, but our efforts to own and segregate bring us further away from this paradigm. Power trips, the need for imagined security, fear or avoidance of the shadow keep us out of our freedom. The need to preserve and hold on tightly only stunts our growth and leaves us drowning in a sea of plastic. Oof. The real disease on Earth, the barrier to Eden, is in our minds. Life happens, but it is our perception of good and bad and our black and white judgments that prevent us from seeing the grand truth. When duality becomes one, we will find Shambhala before us. Perhaps we can find inspiration from nature and the animal kingdom. Does the tiny frog spend its days anxious over its vulnerable future? What happens when we realize fertile compost greets us when we allow ourselves to transmute our pain? When we honor all that came before, our roots are nourished and we grow with more vitality, vibrancy, and life force. We can anchor more light for the collective and, in turn, seed new growth. What happens when we realize the keys to our future in the wisdom of the earth and the dreamings of the indigenous? That the answers are in the geometry of the macro and microcosm, the nurturing embrace of oneness in Mama Nature's arms. What happens when we find peace within the full spectrum of life? Even the notion of separation, this disease, can be symbolized as no more than a blackened leaf on a healthy tree. The ebb and flow of our evolution and devolution is a temporary blip in the universe. The message is to be what we can, to ground heaven on earth, but not out of fear. We often try to avoid or run from, quote, negative, unquote, situations. But when fear steers our decisions and actions, far more devastation can result. When we choose to let our hearts lead us away from stories and outdated patterns, our challenges become the fertile compost that feeds our ascending tendrils as they reach to the heavens and ground its light back on earth. I'll let somebody else read the divinatory meaning. Or we can skip it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Nobu. Yeah, I'm down to skip it. Oh. Yeah, my fucking heart hurts hearing that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nobu says there was a lot of poignant stuff there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious if anyone has any reflection points. Big anchor, I feel.
Oh shit. My shit been unmuted this whole time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
But I was gonna say, hold on, did I say anything while he was reading? Like, did y'all hear me talk or something? Or was I really quiet? Like that
You're
shit
really,
is
really quiet.
okay, cool. That's always been like a fear of mine. Actually, not
Me
just a
too.
fear. Wild shit has happened where I was in Discord. Never mind. But first of all, your reading voice is very soothing. What's I don't know who read that. I was just listening in a trance. So shout out to you. But yeah, the part that stood out to me was like just I don't know, just overall. Oh, does the tiny frog spend its days anxious over its vulnerable future? What happens when we realize fertile compost greets us when we allow ourselves to transmute our pain? When we honor all that came before, our roots are nourished and we grow with more vitality, vibrancy, and life force. And this part really hit for me because it's like, I don't know, I got trust issues with people. I mean, it's a, it's like trusting a big ass plan that you can't always see, but like knowing that you also have free will and your own intentions, but then also it be feeling real good when that alignment actually shows up. But like sometimes that alignment don't show up. So it's kind of, or at least I don't know, it doesn't, at least I don't perceive it all the time. Just speaking for myself. Um and my other takeaway from this is that the planet is a eater.
Oh, what a note to end on, Carissa. The planet isn't either. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, like honestly, right now I'm feeling like this sense in my crown, a sense in my root that like something is shifting in not just my field, but like maybe even this collective field of potential um around like honoring the roots. Um and I don't mean honoring in like this like passive sublimating kind of way. I think what I mean like honoring the roots is like kind of drawing power up from the roots, connecting and like calling up from the root. Um yeah, that's an image that feels really potent for me right now. Um Nobu says felt like a sink from dreams. Is it okay if I read this? Okay. So Nobu wrote in the dreams channel, I woke up with the image of a red balloon. Ooh, whoa. Okay. And then another image of a duck showing up in a kitchen to enjoy the process of cooking without being eaten. Oh wow. Anyways, I will offer these in the 000 lineage space. Ashe. Hmm. Mm. Sorry, those are also two very powerful symbols for me. The red balloon and ducks. And the fact that they were both in your dreams is like I can feel it in my heart right now. um mm. I'm holding space if you want to elucidate more on it. Ah, there are terma linked to those terms now. Okay. felt, I'll say as well. Terma being like, I'd say like metaphysical, well, structures. That doesn't do terma justice. Namu, would you like to explain what terma might mean?
Um, yeah, I guess I'll say right now, I'll say that terma is kind of like a realm. So, like the Earth is a realm, and you could say it's like computing something, like it's working something out based on the genetic code which came in, like, which our realm is an expression of. And I feel the same with terma. And of course, like we're talking about genetic code, which is not just present in the form of DNA, but also in like etheric spirals, right? Um, but so yeah, when I talk about terma, sometimes I also talk about like these vibrational packages, which are also realms, and then they are generating intelligence, which can be picked up on by us in unseen realms.
Thanks for saying so. That context was really helpful, especially like in this container. So thank you. Yeah, and I also feel like there is something to be said or to be spoken to in this container about um, like how energetic realities work. Like I get the sense that the collective has probably been not like just this collective, but like maybe collectives that we're also connected to have been like very focused on the mechanics of how things work metaphysically and then like trying to understand how things work physically. But there is something here present in this container. I don't know if it's after like hearing you like read this card or like hearing y'all speak to like terma and this dream, but it feels like there is um this opportunity to, and I think I said it at the beginning of this reading, to like bridge what we know about the astral or what we know about the etheric realm, what we know about the astral realm, and to actually enliven that wisdom in our bodies. And so like we're not like embodying new earth as if it's an abstract concept, or we're not embodying new earth as if it's a place to go, but it feels like the call from earth's consciousness is to respect the octaves you came from, what you learned there, respect the octaves of where you're going to, try to do a little learning before you go there, but like not only just move forward, but like that's the bridge. Like your body, your understanding, how you relate to wisdom, how you relate to gnosis, how you digest your experiences, how you choose to reflect. Those are the things that are like a bridge to new earth, you know? So I feel like the divinatory reading was long, but I feel like that's kind of what I'm digesting from that and also from the dream that you shared, Nobu. Mm. Meditating, Nobu says, I'm meditating on the part about following heart versus fear because of aforementioned big change and having fear projected on it. Yeah, that's something I'm very used to as well. Like when I make big shifts, people just kind of making assumptions about it, or like kind of assuming that I'm like unstable or like I've kind of like lost my marbles. And I'm like, actually, I'm an oracle. I'm a prophetess. And like not just for the internet, like literally I see things in advance, and in order for that reality to be real to me, I have to act on it and embody it. And so you could fumble around with your marbles if you want to, but I got mine right here. You know? Yeah, my marbles right here. Yeah, Ashe Nobu. And so the passage that Nobu shares is the bit on the message is to be what we can to ground heaven on earth, but not out of fear. We often try to avoid or run from negative situations, but when fear steers our decisions and actions, far more devastation can result. When we choose to let our hearts lead us away from stories and outdated patterns, our challenges become the fertile compost that feeds our ascending tendrils as they reach to the heavens and ground its light back on earth. Nobu says, like, I feel like my heart led me away, but someone told me that fear was what caused me to run away. Yeah. Ashe. Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like that's something people say, like, be led by love, don't be led by fear. But honestly, there's other things to be led by too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in the true nuance of like everyday living, if I'm motivated by fear to move the fuck out of the way out of the car, good for me. Fear worked. If I'm motivated to like drive out to the country as opposed to spending like New Year's in a really big city that has like some funky ass energies to begin with, that's not fear. That's hustling in advance. You know what I mean? And I think it's also like time that people stop. I'm gonna just say this: stop gaslighting other people metaphysically, bro. Like, really. Oh, ye of motherfucking little faith. Okay? You feel me, guys? I feel like that's all people are like revealing to me when they do shit like that or they project. I'm like, you have no faith. Fuck out of my way. Yeah. Yeah, the heart doesn't have to be moved by love. Yeah, it's like it's not always love. It's really not. It's hardly ever love. Usually the love comes after I hustle in advance for myself, energetically speaking. But it's like if I waited around for everybody to say, like, yes, I feel the same thing that you're feeling, or I can sense like I don't need a sounding board all the time to make my moves. And honestly, like the most resounding sounding board is my motherfucking heart. And when it beats in a particular direction, I'm moving. That's the whole point of doing this work to me. The fuck? It's like, why would you do, sorry. I'm like, why would you do work to listen to I don't know, like to be moved by like thought forms? Like, what the fuck? Please, please. So I feel like this full spectrum card is like lighted all the way up. Like if you were making decisions from like your lower three chakras your entire life, it's time to level up. If you've been making decisions from just your upper chakras, it's time to level down. Like you gotta get your geometries right. And I hope me kind of like being fiery with this transmission is like encouraging because I don't feel like anyone in this container I've had these experiences with. So it's like I hope the encouragement is hitting. Lexi says my sister just said that's the vibe for 2024. Ashe. Get the fear out of your way, Nobu says. Ashe. Ahmed says when your insecurities lead you to get the projections of others' insecurities. Holy shit. That just made my third eye hurt to read. Not because of how you worded it, but I'm like, yeah, that's a reality, I feel, for a lot of people. Then people be getting mad at other people for being insecure. And then it's like, it's so convoluted. It is so fucking convoluted when you just relate to the world from like disconnected places as opposed to like embodying your full spectrum self. And again, this full spectrum self, I don't feel like it is what people think it is, like loud and like, oh my God, I'm taking up all the space. And sure, there's something to that. It's definitely not about playing small, but I feel like it's about embodying a state of wisdom about yourself as a source of power, as opposed to embodying circumstantial evidence as a source of power, because the latter will get you fucked up 99% of the time. Mm-hmm. Oh shit. Oh god. No, but do you want to read what you said? My throat chakra is malfunctioning.
Malfunctioning, like my Terminator eye. Yeah, I was just kind of following on what Ahmed said. Where first of all, when Ahmed said that, I was like, are you calling me insecure, bro?" And then I just like meditated, like brush it off, and I was like, "Yeah, that feels pretty real." Like my sense is a lot of people are kind of psychically connected, but they kind of like unconsciously use that, like that scrying ability to say things that hook into other people's insecurities when they pick up on them. Yeah, I mean, please correct me if that isn't what you're getting at, Ahmed, but I feel like that's a dynamic I'm pretty familiar with.
Thank you for speaking to it, Nobu. And I see Ahmed's typing, so I'm going to hold space for him to clarify if he'd like. Mm-hmm. Mm, definitely. Thanks for clarifying, Ahmed. Yeah. And I think it's that. I think it's very, very convoluted. Kind of like I said earlier. Ahmed says I was referring to Hoda mentioning why people don't listen to their heart in the first place and listen to others when it doesn't work for them. Yeah. Yep. Definitely. And then Nobu says, yeah, yes, that can open up space for the dynamic I was speaking on. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm grateful that like both the metaphysical and the physical and the unseen and all these like edges are being brought into this part of the conversation because I do feel like it's an interesting time for like psychic entanglement, which a lot of people I think subscribe to. But just like things that we subscribe to in real life, like sometimes we subscribe to things and then like forget about them, which is like okay, it's fine. But it's like I do feel like there is this tendency. I even think about it just like with people who like pull tarot cards or like people who have channels who similar to like the way that the Broom has a YouTube channel and a podcast. People will just speak on the metaphysical temperature and like sometimes, especially lately, I can't say it's always been like this. Lately, I've been feeling into when another channeler or like another psychic or another seer is channeling like collective fear or channeling stuff to hook into people's fear versus like when people are channeling stuff to like empower people. And I think that just as much as it can happen on a collective level, it can happen on an interpersonal level. Um, I think that's the basis of what people call gaslighting, I think. And then it kind of has didactic layers from there. But I do think that it's all like kind of connected. And I think that that's what this full spectrum card is also pointing to, like how like our own wisdom and like kind of going not going with but like following our own instincts throughout life can almost like create this field of like surety where it's not even like wading through the bullshit, but like I think we talk about this too a lot in the Broom. Like this is a big nod to like dojo, right? A container that Nobu facilitates, holds, and invites other people to from the 000 lineage, where like we kind of just sit down and speak to other practitioners and do so in a martial way. And one thing that I noticed about those containers and I shared when I was in that container was how like part of being martial is not only just like knowing what you want or like knowing what your yeses are. It's also about like knowing what your no's are, knowing what you respectfully decline. I know that I still need to post that. No pressure. I still need to do a write up for it. So please take your time. Um, collaboration be like. But yeah, it's like it's super interesting because I do feel like I'm kind of looking at what you guys are kind of percolating into this conversation right now, like from 3 different layers. from like the metaphysical, the physical, and like the interpersonal level. I think it's both, Ahmed, actually. Like, this is about like self being cultivated and refined by other selves and other people and other circumstances as well. Because I don't think any self unfolds in isolation or like in a vacuum, personally. So that's why I feel like your example brought me there too. Ashe. Okay, y'all want to get into this last card? Radical expansion. I think I'm just going to share the divinatory meaning because, baby, these cards is long. So I'll just share the divinatory meaning. Oh shit, I think I just sent it twice. My bad. Would anyone like to read the divinatory meaning? It's on page 106, which reduces to 7, which is big for me. Okay, thanks, Ahmed.
Alright, divinatory meaning. It is time for expansion. You can be as big as your energy wants to be. Stop and consider anything that is holding you back. This card is the permission slip that allows you to let go of limiting stories and take up all the space you need. Have fun unleashing who you are. As bold and radical as some of your ideas or offerings might be, who is to say they are not what the world is waiting for, what the world wants? Take note of any judgment of authentic expression towards yourself or others. Be mindful that creatively exploring unrefined expression may be what is needed right now. Remember to center yourself in your heart and be the masterpiece your soul always wanted you to be.
Thanks, Ahmed. Hmm. I'm kind of sitting with this paragraph that's above too. I don't know why I was drawn to it, even though I was like, we gonna read the divinatory meaning, but I'm gonna read this part. It says, it is time for radical ways of being and thinking, and you can start by granting yourself the freedom and creativity to be you. Having a voice is essential. I don't know why I'm reading it like this. Having a voice is essential for power to shift back to individuals and communities outside of prescribed normality. It is time to unleash your inner rainbow dragon and unapologetically claim your heart-based empowerment and radiantly unconventional gifts and have fun with it. Yes. Woo! That makes me feel some type of way, y'all. Ahmed says, I'm supposed to be dancing a lot more than I do. Do it, do it, do it. No one says, fuck yes. Fuck yes. This is hopeful as fuck, guys. Whoa. Carissa says the gay dragons is outside, okay? Purr. Rainbow dragon. Like, to me, I know the rainbow dragon is elusive as fuck, but to me, when I hear rainbow dragon, when I think of the rainbow dragon, I think of the bridge between the heart and the upper chakras. And that bridge between the astrals and ethers, like I was talking about earlier. So that's pretty affirming to me. That is pretty affirming to me. Yep. Lexi says higher heart. Been feeling it all day, guys. So, I'm gonna send Craig off. So those of y'all listening async, thanks again for checking this out. I appreciate y'all for tuning in with me. And yeah, talk later. Feel tuning happens every Monday at 3:30. So pull up. Okay, bye, Craig.